How many of you have MBAs? Everything you learned, if you got your degree in the last, earlier than 3 years ago, is obsolete. Congratulations. And at least for entrepreneurship, not if you want to run a large company. I want to remind those of you who don't have an MBA what it actually stands for. MBA is the Master of Business Administration. Big idea, administration. The notion of the MBA, first graduating MBA class in the United States was Harvard in 1908, and the notion was to create a management class to run these new corporations that were actually forming in the United States. Steel companies, oil companies, food companies that were actually growing in scale and size, and there wasn't a professional management class. And so we decided to actually have a curriculum to educate administrators, people who could execute an existing company. So the curriculum for the MBA was how to run an existing company. The
Not to start the one.
How to run one. And it's not that we never understood that there were these things called startups, because in 1940, George Deroe at Harvard offered essentially the first entrepreneurship class. Stanford in the 1950s offered small business entrepreneurship classes. But here was the big idea. And this big idea actually is what kicked off the lean startup movement, is that a startup is not a smaller version of a large company. This is a huge idea. Nowadays, it's kind of like, well, we kind of understand that, but when I was an entrepreneur, that was not the case. Our investors taught us to do everything a large company did. A large company wrote a business plan, we wrote a business plan. A large company did a 5-year forecast, they made us do a 5-year forecast. A large company hired sales, marketing, business development VPs on day one, they told us to do that. And more importantly, our investors assumed that all we needed to do was execute the business plan just like a large company. Yet they were surprised when 90-some-odd% of us would fail. And they blamed it on us as the entrepreneurs. The big idea that kicked off the lean startup movement was not only startups aren't smaller versions of large companies, is that large companies execute known business models.